Hello and welcome. I'm Ijoma Onyato. Tonight, former President Goodluck Jonathan opens up events leading to his defeat in the 2016 presidential election as he unveils his book detailing his last days in office. Governor Abubakar of Bauchi reads Riot Act to perpetrators of violence in the state, imposes dusk to dawn curfew in 5 communities recently rocked by crisis. Police reveal plan for a comprehensive national crime database as judicial and security personnel seek ways of improved criminal justice administration in the country. And at least 37 fighters from the Al-Shabaab militant group killed in precision airstrikes by US Africa Command forces.
On business news tonight, economic and policy analysts asked Nigeria's top presidential candidates to clarify their plans for economic growth ahead of the 2019 general elections.
And on sports news tonight, the Cranes of Uganda forced the Super Eagles of Nigeria to a draw in their international friendly in Asaba.
And from Abuja, Senate Committee on INEC raises concerns over voter register and PVC collection in Kaduna State as it continues assessment of the Commission's readiness for the 2019 polls.
We begin tonight from the nation's capital, Abuja, where Nigeria's former President Goodluck Jonathan launched his memoir titled My Transition Hours, which chronicles his activities and actions during his last days in office as president. In the book, the former president accused former American President Barack Obama of displaying an unusual level of bias during the 2015 elections by issuing a video appeal to Nigerians, which all but advised them on which candidates to give their mandate. In an excerpt drawn from the book, the former president says, quote, on March 23, 2015, President Obama himself took the unusual step of releasing a video message directly to Nigerians, all but telling them how to vote. In that video, Obama urged Nigerians to open the next chapter by their votes. Those who understood subliminal language deciphered that he was prodding the electorate to vote for the opposition to form a new government. The message was so condescending, it was as if Nigerians did not know what to do and needed an Obama to direct them, end of quote. The former president says he decided to write the book in order to address some of the accusations against him before the 2015 elections, which he lost to the incumbent President Muhammadu Buhari, marking the first time an incumbent president would fail to be re-elected in Nigeria. He also defends the postponement of the 2015 election date, saying, quote, before the election was eventually rescheduled by INEC, I summoned all the service chiefs, the NSA, the Inspector General of Police, and the Director General of the State Security, among others, to get further information. Then I called a meeting of the Council of State and requested the heads of security services and the INEC chairman to attend. These were not apolitical, but at least they could rise above politics and represent the interest of the entire country. At the end of the deliberations, it was agreed that the election should be postponed for 6 weeks in order to create a safer environment for voters and officials on election day, end of quote. On the missing Chibok schoolgirls, the former president says, quote, my mind was ravaged by a torrent of questions. Where were the school matrons, security guards, teachers, and the principal? As if on cue, protests broke out within days. They were neatly choreographed and nicely distributed around the country. The swiftness of the protest and its organization was just a matter of politicians seizing a rare opportunity to politicize an unfortunate incident. I believe one day some of the security experts and actors that were involved in the search and rescue will tell the world the truth about the kidnap of the Chibok schoolgirls. Dr. Jonathan also asked the Independent National Electoral Commission to put in place measures to curb vote buying and voter inducement ahead of the 2019 elections. Now, apart from the stunning revelations in the book, the event also brought together political bigwigs in Nigeria and 2 former African presidents, Bai Koroma of Sierra Leone and John Mahama of Ghana. They joined other prominent Nigerians to shower encomiums on the former Nigerian leader who ruled the country as president for 6 years. President Muhammadu Buhari, on his part, commended the former President Goodluck Jonathan's sportsmanship in conceding defeat after the 2015 election emphasizing Jonathan's insistence that no Nigerian's blood was worth his political ambition. Our correspondent Terry Ikumi reports.
It is a gathering that many will refer to as uncommon, considering the caliber of persons present. Friends and well-wishers have all gathered here to honor and celebrate a man considered a hero of democracy, not only in Nigeria, but Africa as a whole. The occasion is the 61st birthday celebration of former President Goodluck Jonathan and presentation of his book titled My Transition Hours.
I am proud of you, Mr. President, that you are my boss.
The guests of honor take turns to eulogize him.
His action or his reaction in the 2015 elections, as has been said here, helped to consolidate our democracy. But for that singular action, only God knows where I would have been today.
So for all who are here, and for all of us who are not here, let us remember that as we go into 2019, President Jonathan has done his, and we should all live by those standards.
I believe that these little actions have consolidated the democracies of our country. And when the history of democracy in Nigeria comes to be written, President Jonathan's name will be written in letters of gold.
Former President Olusegun Obasanjo is the chairman of the occasion.
You have residual responsibility to continue to be of service in your community, in your state, in Nigeria, in West Africa, in Africa, and indeed in the world.
Then comes the moment to unveil the book, and the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress joins the party.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, a moment in time.
President Muhammadu Buhari, who was the special guest of honor, is represented by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation.
I want to openly, as I've done on several occasions, salute the statesmanship, sportsmanship, and courage embodied in the person of Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. Your singular act of placing a call to me doused and calmed frail nerves all over the country. And I sincerely thank you for being a true Democrat and a patriotic Nigerian.
The man of the moment, famous for being quoted as saying his ambition is not worth the blood of any Nigerian, takes to the podium and explains why he chose to write the book.
There are certain issues in the government that were used against me during the election. The issue of Boko Haram and Chibok girls. In fact, some people even said that I brought Boko Haram to reduce the voting population of the North so that I will win elections. So I commented on the Chibok girls. Also the fuel subsidy that was really used by of course, politicians must exploit opportunities. So I don't blame them, even if maybe it's myself, probably I will do the same thing. But I needed to explain certain things why we took that decision.
He proposes a solution to the vote-buying menace.
All the African countries have gone to observe elections. Nobody built polling booths. They have polling centers, public buildings, especially schools, and use the classrooms. So one school will have so many polling units. And it's easier for the police to police these polling units together. And it's difficult for somebody who is in the classroom to show you the ballot paper.
Participants at this book launch are of the opinion that it is timely and necessary, especially going into the 2019 general elections. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the president has asked Nigerians to pray for peaceful electioneering as the country embarks on the journey to democratic elections in the coming year. President Muhammadu Buhari made this call in his message to Nigerian citizens and Muslims around the country on the occasion of Eid al-Maulud, the birthday of the Holy Prophet Muhammad. The event is being celebrated by Muslims in Nigeria and their counterparts across the world. A statement from the presidency says the president is confident that Eid al-Maulud will help to promote mutual harmony and tolerance among all Nigerians. In his Eid message, President Buhari observed that under the APC-led federal government, the nation is making great progress in dealing with the issues of security, corruption, reforms and restructuring of the economy, as well as infrastructure. He, however, adds that the country needs the support and the prayers of all citizens. And let's move on to Bauchi State, where Governor Muhammad Abubakar today imposed a dusk-to-dawn curfew on 5 communities affected by Sunday's communal violence in the state. The curfew is expected to run from 7 p.m. to 6 a.m., and the state government is asking everyone to comply with the order. The governor also vows to bring to justice the perpetrators of the violence, where no fewer than 3 persons were reportedly killed, several others injured, and houses burned.
The government of Bauchi State is happy for the peace that is holding in the entire state. I am only going to seize this opportunity to call on a few elements in the state who are trying to create problems, that I am going to go down hard on anybody, and I'm not leaving out anybody who thinks he can create problems in Bauchi State. I'm going to come down hard. I'll visit the full force of the law on anybody.
And staying with security matters, the Nigeria Police is setting up a national crime database at the force headquarters to link all police divisions and formations nationwide in order to effectively police the country. And this was disclosed by the Commissioner of Police in charge of legal, Mr. Austin Sanomi, at a workshop to strategize and develop a template for a multi-sectoral implementation of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act. The police, however, claimed that it will require more budgetary allocation to fully implement the system as required by law. Our correspondent Amaka Okafor reports.
Thank you very much.
Sections 29, 33 and 34 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act provides a mechanism for interface between the judiciary and security agencies to ensure a smooth implementation of the law. It is for this reason that this workshop has been organized.
As a committee charged with the mandate of identifying and implementing reforms that facilitate effective and efficient justice service delivery and the promotion of the rule of law, the committee, which is the Federal Justice Sector Reform Committee, in collaboration with other stakeholders and support from our development partners, have developed draft templates and protocols for implementing these provisions for consideration and adoption at this workshop.
The Nigerian police is already implementing a national crime and incident database to connect all parts of the country.
One of such steps worthy of note is the setting up of the Nigeria Police Crime and Incident Database, which is currently at its completion stage and located within the police force headquarters. The database, it is expected on completion, will link all police divisions and formations nationwide and have access to accurate and up-to-date statistical data required by the police to effectively play its role as a critical stakeholder in the criminal justice system.
Beyond the synergy between the security agencies and the judiciary, some experts have called for collaboration with traditional and non-formal justice delivery systems.
We have traditional rulers, we have religious leaders, we have community leaders who are also dispensing justice. Unless we take them along, we will be leaving 80% of our population to a justice system that does not have our attention. So investment in the traditional and community justice system is also emphasized, and how this can be done based on experiences within this country and outside this country has been provided in the policy.
There is no doubt that this sort of meeting is important, but what is most critical is the need for implementation of the laws such that it will deliver on the desired result of adequate justice delivery. Amaka Okafor, Channels Television News.
In part 2, after the break, more on the National Crime Database will be joined by the Force Police Relations Officer, Jima Moshood. Plus, dozens of persons, including an army commander and some soldiers, reportedly killed in attacks by insurgents near Nigeria's border with Niger Republic. That's all coming up in a moment. Do stay with us.